Hello, everybody. Once again, I am Lehman Crafton Jr., aka Zorval Chan Less Than Guru. And I just wanted a very short, little Mars, he's down here. Um, I just wanted to do a really short um, video kind of explaining if you watch the second session of my homebrewed Palladium First Edition Ninterre Veil mix up uh, game session, and I just wanted to bring a couple of reasons why I did things. I am going for an old school feel, and some of you might really not agree with me, and that is a fine thing. I just did not want the party to always go back and get healed all the time. Palladium is a game that limits healing. The healing potions are not very prevalent in it. It's not like there's a magic shop in every small little town like a lot of D&D adventures are. Um, the priest and the healers, the two classes that actually heal, they don't get healing until second level. Palladium does have that active defense. It's not wrapped up. If you watched my watch that playthrough, when I was explaining when people were trying to hit unconscious bodies, you might be, oh, I want to do a coup de grace, Pathfinder or D&D type thing. Why can't I? And in Palladium, it's basically the armor is the physical armor protecting them. A 1 through a 4, you completely miss. You'll never hit a person 1 through 4. 5 through whatever their armor rating is, you hit their armor and damage is done to their armor. Now again, my home house rule is for every 10 points of damage, the armor will go down 1 point. And the reason I do that is because otherwise you have the effect where you get more hit points than your armor. You are wearing like leather armor and you have more hit points, or it's easier to heal you than it is to heal your armor. You're always buying armor, you're always losing armor, and I don't necessarily agree with that. So my home rule is to make every 10 points, full 10 points, round down, do 1 point of armor damage. That makes armor worth it, in my opinion. You can easily repair it as well. So one of the things that I did is I didn't want them to keep coming back, going back, going back, going back, going back to that healer. I think I might have even said it in the first episode, but I changed my mind because I believe changing your mind to suits different situations are fine. Plus, we all are going from a new school toward eternity where death is very, very hard to happen unless you throw down a martyr card or you just choose not to try to roll a reality, or you're disconnected and you can't soak. So there's very few ways of actually dying in, or it's very difficult to die in Toward Eternity. Old school, it's very easy to die. You can go negative up to your negative PE, but there's not a lot of healing. So I decided to go back, and if any Palladium fans are watching, you'll notice I use the healer healing, and that's what that priest is not really a priest as a class. They're somebody devoted to the deity in my game, Adrethin, and they are actually a hero class. It's just that I think it's one of those things where it's not like Earth Dawn, where you are your discipline and every air sailor is like, I'm an air sailor, every warrior is, I'm a warrior. In Palladium, it's more of, this is your class, but you can call it whatever you want. So they can say that they're very pious. They can get that religion skills and stuff like that. So going forward, if anybody has any questions, what I'm doing, that's what I'm doing. I made that priest, that clergy member, a healer. They are devoted to the deity. They follow that deity's tenets, but they're a healer. So that's why I rolled the 2d12 plus 2 and not the 1d8. So that's where I'm going with that to explain if you watch that. But I didn't want the group to keep coming back. And then as you've seen last episode, episode 1, and this episode, the warlock, and in Palladium, warlock is elementalist, and the warlock in this game is a air water warlock. They have that cloud of steam that burns, it blinds, pretty potent. And the wizard has the cloud of slumber, which unlike D&D, if you get hit take damage, you do not wake up. The only way to wake up is to be pulled out, and for then you can awake, or that 4 melee round, which is 4 minutes in first edition, that comes up. So in Palladium, that armor, as I was saying, I'm not sure if I completely finished, so sorry if I jumped around, but the armor is you are wearing armor on your body, and that protects you. That is your armor rating. The active part of it, the I'm moving around, is my automatic parry, or me using an action to parry if I'm not a man at arms class, or I'm using my action to dodge. So basically, that is the thing there. You can use your action to dodge. Men at arms get a free automatic parry for things that they're aware of, and uh, the other classes don't get an automatic parry, so they can choose to parry or dodge, usually depending on what their bonus is, what is more beneficial, what would keep them from being hit. So that's the active part of it, and that's why I still made them roll. And with the grid map being so easy to take that template and figure out where that cutoff point is so that you could only affect the bad guy and not the people in melee, while visually makes sense, thematically it doesn't. It really is a why, if these two guys are fighting here, is the line of that here. I'm trying to sight, and I don't have a laser pointer that does the measurement, a laser measurement to figure out within an inch. So maybe you'll be a little off. So going forward, I made that decision towards the end of the fight tonight, and going forward, I think that if you're in melee and that spell is cut off, if it's an area of effect spell and it's cut off between you and your opponent, you should make some type of roll against it. And I figured that the caster is trying not to hit their allies, so they roll a d20. I might even say that if they choose a targeting skill, I'm not sure if they can get a targeting skill. I'll check that out. But if not, I might let them get that skill to a bonus so that they can pinpoint it a little better. They roll that, and then if the other ones can roll higher, or they're trying not to hit. So they roll, and the other ones need to roll under that. Under that means they get away from it. Over it, then they're going to get hit. And Palladium usually has the armor rating 12. 12 still hits you. It's not the D to hit, I believe, unless I got that rule wrong. And that's another thing. We're shifting from different systems. This system I used to know backwards and forwards 20 years ago, but I'm still trying to remember, and we haven't played for 4 weeks because 2 weeks ago we didn't, so I'm still trying to catch up on that. But basically what I wanted to say is there were certain decisions I made in-game, and some people might say that I'm taking away player agencies, but I, as a game master, need to adjudicate, and I need to make rulings that make sense. And if I see something getting overpowered, instead of going, well, nope, we're just getting rid of my whole magic point system, because I did want the magicians to not just have their 1 or 2 spells. I think the warlock would have got 2 spells, and the wizard would have got 1 spell, and that's it. I want them to be able to do something, but I don't want it to just be an auto, we win, we win, we win. So if I would have only had that 1 or 2 spells, I probably would have allowed that border, because they would have cast that spell, and they wouldn't have been able to cast another spell for 24 hours. And the other one would have cast 2 clouds of steam and would not have been able to cast, instead of being able to just every round do a spell, do a spell. So basically that is the reasoning why I made that decision in game, and I don't think that it took away player agency. I didn't say you can no longer do this. I just said, hey guys, I'm seeing this as a problem. I'm going to have this as a reaction. And I didn't necessarily do it and warn them about it until that time. Basically, because I actually just thought of it right then and there, this is going to be something bad. And as you might have heard Bauer mention, when Bob was like, that is a horrible combination, they can't wake up, and that, that's great for us. And I believe it was Bauer who stated then Yeah, until it affects us because I have what I call the Molotov cocktail rule. If somebody comes up with an ingenious plan, and why we call it a Molotov cocktail, it's the old making homemade grenades by stuffing rags in alcohol bottles and lighting them and throwing them, type thing. And it's yeah, you can get that one or two times or a few times against the enemy, but sooner or later somebody off in the distance is going to learn about it, hear about it, figure it out, and they start doing it to you. So that's one of those things. When you start doing that, at some point, it's going to reflect back on you. So therefore, if the bad guys start doing it, they're going to have those same negative rules on it. Their people are in that border, then they're going to have that same thing affect them. So basically, that's kind of what I figured I would do, and that's the reasoning. And I did want to just do a quick video saying that so you understand why I did that. And you can disagree. Again, you could be one that every rule has to be thought about and explained before game, but I just saw it right then like this is just going to be something. You might have seen I clicked on one of the character classes to remind myself how many magic points they get, and my magic system is based off of what level of the spell plus the level you're casting the spell at. I'm allowing any spellcaster to cast any spell whatever level they have up to. So if they're second level, they can choose to cast it as first level, or they can choose it to cast at second level. And the difference is the second level is going to be 2 points to cast, and the first level is going to be 1 point to cast. Plus, you cast it with a number of points equal to the level. So a first level spell will be a minimum of 2 points to cast, one for level one spell, one for it being level one. When you get to level two, that level one spell, you can cast it at level one for 2 points, or level two for 3 points. A level two spell at level one efficiency is 3 points, and a level two spell at level two would be 4 points, etc. So that's how that works. So I looked really quick and I saw that he had started off with 40 something magic points. That's 20 spells. That's a lot of spells. Now they get 1 point back per hour. So when they were taking 6 hours and 6 hours back and spending the night, I didn't sit there and figure out how many points they got back. They would have got up to their maximum points. But since I am allowing that, since that is something that I chose to let them do, cast multiple spells, I always have to take in effect what are some of the ramifications of that. And that's always anything like in D&D. If you take away the memorization of spells and you just allow them to cast whatever, realize that that memorization does have a reason. You don't have to like that reason, but just realize that if you don't do that, if you don't add that foreplanning, that forethought of what spells am I going to memorize, then you need to realize there might be ramifications that you did not think about. So that's just different things. And my group has been gaming with me for decades. It's not like this was a new group. If this was a new group, I would say, hey guys, this is a problem. Next game, we will do it like this. But this was a group that I'm comfortable with. We've been role playing for a long time. And I will pause. Okay, sorry about that, but actually, it was a good thing. My phone rang and I answered it. And it was one of my players, the player of Bauer who plays the Warlock. And he just asked a couple of questions, but he said that he was fully on board with me changing that. And he was actually surprised that I hadn't implemented that earlier. So that thing affects two people, and one of them has already called me and said that he understood it and had thought that maybe I would have already implemented something like that, was figuring it was on that it made sense, and was happy that he gets to cast more than one or two spells a day. So um, for my group, that works, and that's why I did it. And what I'm saying is I don't feel like I'm taking away player agency because I didn't say you can't. Nope, changing the rules right now. You can no longer cast spells. That to me would be taking away player agency to have them be able to do something and then say nope, you can't do it. What I did was I just made it so that there possibly were a little more ramifications for casting a spell like that in combat when the bad guys and the good guys, or the NPCs and the PCs are fighting, and in melee that you might hit your friends. So basically, it was that uh, Palladium First edition is pretty much theater of the mind, and when you transfer something like that to a gridded battle map, I played it on chalkboards and stuff without grids, and that could have been just a, oh, okay, yeah, it's too close, so they are affected too, and then people probably wouldn't even cast it. But when you have it on specific grids of a battle map, then you gotta kind of take things differently. And it's not like D&D 4th edition where yes, you could do it and it is, oh, what I want to say, it is on those lines and you can stop it, but that's a very tactical game. This is anything but tactical. So a lot of things, I'll take that into account. I'm going old school, so that's why um, I wanted that when they went forward, and you saw me if you're watching it, I just threw up a map because I had not really expected them to go back. They decided to go back. That was another thing that I talked about with Bauer as a player, was that when he went around, I did say you avoided, but you noticed various patrols going around, and they were not the same patrol. They were various patrols that had orcs, ogres, and kobolds in them. So you were able to tell that they weren't. Now I decided to throw 4 ogres. I could have did 2 ogres, an orc, and a kobold, or any mix up of things that I wanted. But I just wanted kind of to show that when I gave Bauer the information. He told the party. The party could have went, okay, let's move away. There are patrols that are coming around here. They might see that this is a campsite, and then they could have went on and I would have allowed them to get further and I might have got them into the next little scene I had. But they didn't, and that's why I added those. I put them on the Game Master layer to see if I needed to or not. And then they just started talking for a very long time in game time about, do we wish to do we want to try to ambush them? Do we want to do that? Do we want to do that? What do we want to do? What do we want to do? Okay, boom, now you're ambushed. But I gave those the thing. There are more out there. Every time you go back and come forward, you have a possibility you're probably going to do that. So is it worth going back to get healed? Let them do it once. Hopefully they start dodging and parrying and doing that, because in Palladium isn't a stand toe to toe and hit and hit and hit, and whichever fighter or combatant is there and is the last person standing wins, and then does a little rest, takes a couple of potions, gets healed by the cleric of the party, and they continue forward. Palladium is more with those active defenses, those parries and those dodges. You go the defensive. You use your action to dodge if you need to. You use your free parries if you're a man at arms, or your action to parry if you're a not man at arms, to not get hit. The point in Palladium is not to get hit. And then when you have that chance to hit good, hit hard, or you're just keeping that person occupied while your friends are doing their, thing to knock that opponent out. So basically, it's based off of first edition D&D, maybe even the BX first edition AD&D, that type of thing. But old school pre second edition AD&D, with the idea of defending is important. Healing is not something that you can always rely on, and no one chose to be a priest, no one chose to be a healer, so that the party needs to take into account as well. So I just wanted to do that. We're at 20 minutes. I'll go ahead and wrap up, but I just wanted to show that if you were watching that and you didn't understand what was going on, that I wanted to clarify that, and I wanted to say the reasons why I suddenly sprang a rule right out in the middle of nowhere. But I felt, and I was confirmed by the phone call, that that was understood by the character of one of the people that does the area of effect. Now, the other one was my brother, so hopefully when I talk to him tomorrow, he'll understand what happened and agree with me as well. So that's all I wanted to say, and hopefully if you watch those, you'll enjoy them. It's us going old school again. It's something that we probably haven't done in a really long time. Palladium was a system we used to do quite often, and it was a fun system. We liked it. my modern thoughts see a lot of the rules are kind of vague and not really clear cut and confusing. And I wanted to add certain things to it. And that's why I have a whole 23-page PDF on different things. It's my own setting. Well, it's mixed setting, but my deities and my languages are kind of based off of that fourth edition. Well, the deities are based off of my home game. The setting and languages and stuff are somewhat around what the Ninter Vale fourth edition setting is, with a few little things probably that I threw in there as well. So it is a whole mishmash of things, but hopefully it's entertaining and you'll see how different people do things. And if you watch it compared to my Blood on the Blasted Lands Wednesday, which are on Roll Hit Die, you'll see that it's probably very, very different. And that's because one group is an old school group that we have played a lot for decades together. And then I kind of sit back a lot and let them talk and let them do things. Don't necessarily need to push the adventure, because it's not you have to get to an act to get experience. At the end of the night, I figured out experience and I put it on their character sheets. Just so you'll see how I do things. I do things differently. I don't have all my games and all my groups do exactly the same thing. And that's one of the things where session zeros are important. If you're not with a group that you've been around a long time, and even if you've been around you group with a long time, do those session zeros and do things like that. So I'll go ahead. I'll set it before, but I'll do it now. If you like the video, this commentary on the playthrough, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe if you want to subscribe, add some comments if you want to add some comment. So hopefully that explains why I did things the way that I did. And going forward, I do need to remember to add some blast spells, make the colors a little different, so the area of effects when they're there, it's more obvious what's going on. So other than that, again, I am Liam Crafton Jr., aka Zorval Chan, less than Guru, and I will catch you next time.